Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cool Down. And today we have a very, very, very special guest, guys. Something we're actually very excited about because between the squad, we've been trying for a long time to get Prince on board here, and it seems like we have finally managed to make it happen. So, Prince, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Good evening, guys, and yeah, thanks for having me. I didn't know that you guys are trying to get hold of me. I mean, when you guys spoke to me about the opportunity, I was very pleased, to come and join you guys. So thank you very much for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
No, thank you. Well, look, to be fair, we were trying to find the right moment and the right time, and we just think we've been following you for such a while now. We're just like, the timing is perfect, and I'm just glad it's all worked out. And Selo is actually the one who came up with the idea. Selo, you might as well start off with some questions that you want to throw his way because he's the man of the hour.
Man, don't make me the man of the hour. I guess I started.
No. You're not the man of the hour. Prince is the man of the hour. You need to ask the man of the hour the question.
Okay. I must ask the man of the hour the questions. No.
Yeah, there we go.
I think I started seeing Prince's tweets probably like about 2019, especially around the whole foreign players and how they were doing. I think obviously we all know the common players that are playing overseas, but he would post about the players that we didn't know about. Players coming from the Stars of Africa Academy going straight to Europe, which is amazing. KZN Academy going to Europe as well. So I think he's obviously been following their progress and posting a lot of content about them, which is great to see. But yeah, Prince, I think maybe the introduction can be, how did you start this whole journey that you're on currently? Because obviously you started somewhere to get to where you are now. And now obviously you're part of FarPost, which is obviously a new publication.
Thank you very much, and thank you. 2019 is quite a while back. I mean, 2 years ago, if I may say so. That means a lot to me. I mean, to cut the long story short, man. What drove me to do what I do is the passion that I have for the national team, specifically for the national team. And when the national team was not doing well, it's been some time that the national team has not been doing well.
It's been a while.
After enduring the pain for all these years, and when we, I would say from around 2004, when we kept going to tournaments, get knocked out in group stages, and eventually we ended up not qualifying for tournaments, from around 2008 coming up. We qualified for one, and then we would skip 2 tournaments and qualify for another. And when we go there, we'd even leave some tournaments without even having scored a goal. So it started, as a passionate fan and as a passionate football person, it bothered me as to why we're not doing well as a country. And through the research that I was able to conduct, it came to my attention that realistically is that between the time that we're doing well, which I would say 2002 going down to 96, and the time that we started going down, to where we are today, which I think is the lowest that we've been in all these years, we don't have quality players that are playing overseas in the top leagues and that are playing as regulars and all of those things. So as part of that research, then I gave myself a task, and I think fortunately for me, when I started doing this thing of monitoring and profiling our players, and to a certain extent discovering players, I arrived at a time where the new prospects or a generation of young players was emerging, which this boy that I'm wearing a t-shirt of, Lebogang Phiri, is one of those players that emerged at the time that were starting to move overseas and starting to establish themselves at a young age from the academies and the clubs. So from then on, I never stopped, man, and I think I've grown, strength to strength. At the beginning, because what I do sort of was something new, there was a lot of resistance from the local fans, from coaches and everyone. And yeah, but with time, people understood the importance of us being able to monitor and track down these boys, and to a certain extent give them a support system that would enable them to do better where they are. So I've been doing that for some time, and yeah, man, it's gotten better and better for me. As painful as it is to see the national team not qualifying now.
I've seen you tweet even once that you tried to put your CV in there at SAFA and to say that you can do a job for them, scouting, all these overseas players. But what happened there? What happened when you tried to ask SAFA for a job, basically?
So basically, it wasn't necessarily asking for a job, but it was sort of to say, okay, look, South Africa doesn't have this type of expertise. I always narrate a story of Stanton Fredericks, whom I've become very close with, when he tells me that you had to come back from Russia to come and play in South Africa for him to be noticed by national team coaches, and meaning that he had to sacrifice and leave everything that side in Russia because no one is monitoring him, no one is, checking his progress, and to a certain extent, because this thing goes beyond, even beyond, just football alone. Sometimes players you need to know what's happening with players' personal lives to give them the support, because when you know that you loved at home and you appreciated at home and you are supported, to a certain extent, it pushes you. So Stanton said, it was cold in Russia. I was not washed, and I knew if I wanted to play in the 2006 World Cup, I had to come back from Russia and play in the PSL, which was it was painful for me. So for us to prevent such stories, we need to then bring the players and their lives and their performances and everything closer to the coaches and to the people, so that we are able to sit here and know so and so in Sweden is playing like this, and be able to even watch them live and have a fair reports on them. Because now what you see. Recently, for example, I'll give you an example. Kiken Toli is not playing football. Dean Femin is not playing football. Bongani Zungu is not playing football. But they were all called to the national team, not because of their performances, but mainly because of their reputation. You have Giflings who's playing football week in, week out. You've got Spepalos Tole in Portugal who's playing week in, week out. But they're left out because they are presumably youngsters, and they've not necessarily been in the system with the coaches, and then you feel very you feel hurt when the coach uses such players who are bench warmers, who are not playing, as an excuse to say this is why I didn't qualify. But those players are not playing football in the first place. What difference could they have made if they were here? We don't know. So for me, I think that's part of the reasons why I do what I do. So I submitted to SAFA to say we must set up this office that's going to deal with specifically monitoring, profiling, and basically managing relationship with players, and to a certain extent organizing all these things of passports and all these things, because you'd find boys like, for example, Khaukhelo Chauga, the South Indian, that he qualified for South Africa, but he might have paperwork issues here and there. That office would deal with those things. So I submitted everything. I think it's work that I'd been doing for around 7 years at the time. I submitted, to SAFA. I gave them everything, including all the research that I've been doing all these years since I started, and
for free, just like this.
Yeah, you know what, man? Like I said, when I started doing what I'm doing, it was mainly for the national team. So when the president called me to say, okay, let's have a meeting, let's see what you are saying, I thought, okay, this is a perfect opportunity. Then so SAFA took that proposal, but there's been nothing productive of it. And I think 2 weeks ago the coach went on radio with Robert Marau and said they don't have someone doing that. So I was a bit shocked, because I thought
you still tweeted it. I think you still tweeted it, and I still laughed my head off. I was like, how, if you just follow you on Twitter, I all of a sudden have an extensive database to who's playing overseas because of what you're tweeting. So how can they not even just access your tweets, never mind an actual document that you've now handed to these people? That's ludicrous. Sorry, continue there, Prince.
Yeah, man. So, and I think that's part of our problems, in South Africa, is that even if you are coming to contribute or to do something positive that will help the national team, if you are just Prince, who's Prince from where, who's he friends with, all of those things, then I just honestly think that's why. Because if I submitted that all those years ago, when even Stuart Baxter was there, we've had these conversations, and now the coach can go and say we don't have someone. It means probably they're looking for someone else to do the job for them, because the coach goes on national TV every day, and you can hear some of the words he's saying that, okay, this is coming from the work that I've given SAFA. Profiling, he speaks of profiling every day, he speaks of monitoring every day. Those are ideas that I gave to them, but maybe to a certain extent, because I've seen in certain articles that the coach says they are doing that program, maybe they've decided to do it and not with me though, So that's the sad part about our country. But the fact that he has went and admitted that they don't have anyone, and things are going, the way that they're going, it's quite worrying. And part of that proposal was to say, since we didn't qualify for AFCON 2017 and didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2018, let's go younger. Let's take the Rio players, which is the 2016 Rio players that were led by Kiken Doli, who is a 93, and let's take the under 17 World Cup group and take the under 20 World Cup group in 2019, and then let's merge those groups together, and then let's have a national team. So let's start afresh. That was part of the proposal, and then today we are back at square one where we were at that time, and none of those things were implemented. I mean, Luther Singh should have been in the national team. I don't know God for how long. But Luther Singh is almost 24 years old in August, and it's only now still being integrated, and is almost 24 years old. Tebogo Mokoena should have been a regular in the national team, but Tebogo Mokoena is on the sidelines. We don't know what's happening. Sipombule just went from the bench. But we know those players, what they can offer, and I think we would have rather have lost with them, which I don't think we would have, than to lose with the all players that have been there for the past 10 years.
Prince, I wanna maybe this before the other guys start asking their questions, just in terms of Bafana and where we went wrong with this qualifying and where should we going forward, because I know it's highly impossible that Danny Jordan is gonna resign and everyone else in the executive is gonna resign. What can be done going forward? I doubt that the coach will resign, because the coach is looking after his paycheck. There's a contract in place. If he gets fired, then there's be a compensation from SAFA. If he resigns, he's forfeiting basically the money. And obviously it's a cost cutting measure on both sides. So what can be done going forward? Because we've got the World Cup qualifiers against three countries who just qualified for AFCON: Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, and Ghana. All three have qualified. We haven't qualified. We're playing against teams who have qualified, and we basically the minnows in that group.
The irony,
my brother, it's tough. I think number one, if you can't qualify for an AFCON tournament, how in the world do we expect you to qualify for World Cup? Number one, and I just honestly think, unless we are basically, I mean, if we are saying, I think the coach, should have resigned by now. I expected the coach to have resigned by now, and there's a press conference at SAFA tomorrow. I expect that they will announce that the coach has resigned, because the reality of the matter is that when the coach was brought in, he was not the right man for the job, because we all know that the coach had never coached at professional level. The coach had only coached the under-17, which is amateur level, and he had coached at APC Mutsepe, and before that, then was brought into Bafana Bafana. Now, if the coach continues, I wouldn't expect anything. I wouldn't expect anything better, And I think if SAFA said the coach must continue, it would be a big insult to all of us. And I think it will just show how much SAFA doesn't respect us, and us. We don't stand for we don't stand up for our football, because since 2004 these guys have been doing this thing. They will say the coach might continue. Even if they fire him, they will tell you that no, there's now a selection committee of 5 people who are friends, and then they will appoint another coach that's going to give us the same results. And they've been doing this thing since 2004. And I think I expect the coach to resign, but I think in terms of appointing a new coach, I expect a different strategy, and I expect, honestly, it would be nice to see the people getting involved to a certain extent. And people are speaking about petitions, matches, and I support that kind of thing. Because the reason why SAFA has not even said anything now is Tuesday at night. They've not said anything. No apology about what has happened. No statement about how disappointed they are.
Nothing.
It's because they know we are not going to do anything. We'll just chat like this, and then that's it. Then tomorrow they take a decision with tweets only.
And that's that for me. Sorry, Wong, I just want to say, you can ask the question now. I just want to say, for me, this is not a question. This is a statement. The biggest issue we have is exactly that. The fact that someone's house can be untidy. They can invite you into the house without cleaning up and not give two shits about it. Go, look, I don't care about my untidy house. And the fact that you don't like my company, I actually don't care. We're going to laugh it off anyway. And this isn't a serious matter. The fact that we can accommodate poor results and make that a part of our culture. We went from a winning culture to a mediocre culture, and that seems to be accepted. And the fact, like you said, there's no action. That is the issue for me here. And this is actually, I thought this was going to be a funny chat today. I was like, we're going to have some good jokes. But now when you're saying these things, it boils underneath your skin. I don't know. It's just a frustrating sort of thing. Sorry, Wonga, go ahead. What did you want to say?
I just wanted to, you see there on, you see Darren Smalley, sorry, the guy you used to actually study with as well. He's also saying, he said that the first question asked is to bring Shakes back.
Shakes back.
Now, no. So I want to ask you now.
Shakes has done his job.
Now I hear you. So my question is now, how, in your opinion, I've got my own, but in your opinion, how much do you think, these results over all these years attributed to the coach? Is a result of the coach?
Come again?
Especially
I didn't get
now.
the question.
Okay, so let me just actually focus on now. The results we are seeing now, us not qualifying for the World Cup, is it a result of the coach?
Yeah, honestly, I think it is, because from number one, I think I've been very vocal personally about team selection. The national team plays the national team is together for a week, or just maybe 8 days, or a week at most. And when you go to a camp, you need players that are playing regularly at their club first. And number two, you need players that are performing at their clubs when you are going into that camp. Now, like I said earlier, South Africa, the selection is based on reputation more than performance. Now, players like Kikentolu were picked because of their reputation. We all know what Kikentolu can offer as a player. But the reality is that Kikentolu was not fit, was not playing well, was not doing well, but he was in the squad. You had a Luther Singh that had just got a goal and assisted a goal in the previous weekend, but when he came to South Africa, he was benched on Thursday against Ghana. The coach went with Hlanti and Maela in one game, and he went with with around six defenders plus a defensive and plus two defensive midfielders. Now that will tell you that the coach is going for a draw. Now in the game against Sudan, the coach plays the same formation. I remember at one point he substituted Pesitao for Hlanti when we were losing. Which showed that the coach was going for it. So I think he got his tactics all wrong. He got his selection wrong. And I just think the whole obsession, that when you listen to his interviews, there's one word that you can underline, and the word is experience. His obsession with experience is what let him down in these qualifiers, because I just think, honestly, if it doesn't matter if a player is 16 years, 17 years old, if he's good enough and is playing and performing, he must be in the national team. And if we are still continuing to be obsessed with players that have been there since 2010, and then we've been failing and being beaten by Mauritania, Cape Verde, and many other, now Sudan, can add Sudan to the list and expect different results when we pick them tomorrow. I think really, we've been diagnosing this problem with the same medication, and the medication has been proven that it's not working. Why we're not looking at other angles? We see the best nations in the world, they are going younger, they are going braver, and the results are showing. But what is it about a South Africa that's ranked number 71 that's so special than not to be brave enough like a Germany that's ranked in the top 10? We see Pedri in Spain. We see so many other players. So I just think...
when you're saying that, I just think to myself now, Ivory Coast, for instance, just picked Amad Diallo, for instance, right? He just moved to Manchester United, and he's in the Manchester United squad, and they just picked him. He played, I think, 10 minutes in the first game that they won, not this one against Ethiopia, but the other one, and he played 10 minutes. When was the last time we saw an 18-year-old playing for Bafana Bafana? I don't even know.
No, I think the problem with that is that we'll tell you that Amad Diallo, by the way, has not played in the Premier League. I'm not sure if people are aware.
True.
He only played in Europa. He only played in Europa. Kanyale Shabel has made his debut, for example, for Leicester City in England. But when you want Kanyale Shabela in the squad, Kanyale Shabela is exposed to a match. By the way, men may argue that between Spain and England, which is the number one league in the world, But I think at the moment, we can say that England is the best league in the world. And Kanya just made his debut in that league. But in South Africa, they will tell you that no, he is not playing regular first team football. Right. They would rather go pick a 31-year-old Hamaldin, who's 31, to come and make his debut at 31. Do you see the problem that we're facing?
True.
But I think let's go 2 steps back there. I just want to say, we're obviously highlighting the fact that the coach is the issue. We're fully aware that he was, like Darren says, out of his depth. We know he wasn't qualified. And, you were saying the experience was a matter. And the irony is that someone who lacks experience is now overcompensating on experienced players to help him carry his reputation. And again, we go one step further. And the issue, again, it's not his fault he got the job. Sure, he landed his ass in the butter. You go back to the administration going, they wanted to get someone. They obviously couldn't afford who they wanted to get. So they just gave this oak the job and hoped for the best. And the fact that they were hoping for the best just shows how disrespectful they were towards what we are doing as a nation when we are successful in other sports. And when you've got your resources that we have the resources. The players get paid the money. One of the reasons why they're so soft. Then we start looking, we say, the Banyana team. Let's look at Banyana. Banyana as a case study. This team is fighting tooth and nail for scraps to get recognition. Never mind any financial backing, just recognition. And those ladies go and perform with minimal resources. So why not then let's make the decision and go, well, something's working there. Let's actually cut back what we're doing with these men and actually put some focus and attention there and see what we can get out of this. Because right now it's actually pathetic in my mind. I don't know. Prince, in terms of the overall thought and the planning, in terms of the ladies versus the men's side, how would you go about this? I understand we need to rectify the problems right now. But if you've got one sort of stream that is working, why not focus some sort of attention there?
Man, we've had this conversation for so many times, and the question even it goes to the issue of salaries. Why is Banyana being paid, small salaries than Bafana players? Because Banyana over the years has been doing much better than Bafana Bafana. SAFA will tell you about sponsors and all of these things, but I don't think that's an excuse enough. If you look at the way Banyana is playing, they need to take some of the money that they're investing in Bafana and invest it in Banyana while we're trying to rebuild, Bafana with young players and bring in a coach that's going to be there for a very long time. I mean, there's been many debates now recently on Twitter as to who must take over Bafana. But we've seen countries, we've seen Algeria win the AFCON with a former player. We've seen Senegal go for Cisse, who's a former player. We've seen, so many examples that I can give you. Even in Europe, you've got guys like Shevchenko who are now heading Ukraine, and Ukraine is coming up, they're coming up in their football, and they're competing now with the big countries. So we need to have former players that are qualified take over the national team, and we need to involve coaches that are proven in terms of development. I mean, we all know that Farouk Khan is probably one of the best development coaches, in the country. He's produced so many players with the legal resources that he has, as Stars of Africa, for example. Why not have guys like that involved in our under 17, now under 20? So I think if we can get that right, and if we can say this is the technical team that must take us forward, at least for the next 10 years, with coaches that we know that when we bring them there, they are going to start afresh with young players, and they are going to bring in players on merit. And then I think we can take it from there. I mean, to a certain extent, I've said that we must even cap the age now. We must say if you are 29 and above, you must not play in the national team. Looking at where we are.
100%. I completely agree with that. Yeah,
they're crocs. They must retire. They must retire. Hey, Claudio. Players that you played against must retire now. Hey, Claudio.
Yeah. So Prince, there's too many players. There's too many players I've played against getting call-ups now that are my age, and I'm 31. That's a problem. That's a big problem. I mean, I like the guys, and good luck to them, but that's still a problem. Sorry, Wanga, you were gonna say that.
Yeah, no, it's no, Prince. I completely agree with you there. And for me, my whole I find a failure in SAFA in terms where they fail. It's not on the pitch. I think what we're seeing is a result of the administration and the management of SAFA. If you look back, and now the funny thing is now, before we got this, when we were talking here, guys, I looked now, before I was telling Claudio about this as well, Vision 2022. It's coming out a lot after this win that, after this loss, win for Sudan, loss for South Africa. It's coming a lot now on the internet. People are talking about it and they're saying, Vision 2022, these are the targets. South Africa was meant to qualify for the World Cup. How can they qualify now? And they're just talking about the teams qualifying for these final stages. But Vision 2022 is much larger than that. In fact, Vision 22 also covers out, and they also pinpointed there what Prince was saying is that you need coaches. The coaches are fundamental to everything. So how do you now then change these coaches? How do you make these coaches better coaches so they can get us better players? You have to coach the coaches. So often, Vision 2022, I don't know the number. I looked at it last year. I looked at it again. I tried to look for it again. I can't find this paper, but they had it word for word. I don't know where the paper is now. I can't find it. It was on the net. It's not there anymore. I don't know if there's a coincidence, but it's they said they want something like 100,000 coaches by end of this was in 2012. By end of 2022, they want 100 and something thousand coaches in the grassroots. They're not close to that. And even Danny Jordan now, when he was speaking there yesterday, when was it? In 2019, he's got a 3-minute video of where he's telling the people be entering phase 2 of the plan. But phase 1 was horrifically attended
implemented.
To. So implemented. So when they look at it again, he tells you, we've qualified for this. The under-17s are qualified for this. They've qualified for that. The national team, but they don't. The coaches. You know what he said about the coaches? All he said was, we need to accelerate the development of the coaches. Again, South Africa. In South Africa, we can coach. I can coach any team without a license. If I go to England, I need to have that coaching license to coach. If I'm at the development
level,
the
irony of that, Wonga, is those amounts of coaches applying for jobs in the UK are all licensed and they're struggling to get jobs. That's the irony.
Yes.
So I think Prince, what he's pretty much alluding to is the fact that we keep talking about development. We keep talking about that sort of aspect of the game and how we need better players. But how can we produce better players when our coaches haven't been developed? And that's the irony in all of this. So question for you though, Prince, is something we've got a regular here. We've got Scott Woodhouse, and he comes from all the way from Scotland, and he watches all our shows, and he's got a question specifically lined up because he knows you love tracking our players, and he says, question for you, who's the potential up-and-coming star from South Africa that everyone needs to look out for?
Does he have an age, or any player?
Anyone. The one that you want.
There's quite a few.
Anyone we don't know.
I know there's quite a few, but for me, I would think everyone must look out for a boy called Boipelo Mashiko. He plays in Germany for Unterhaching. Unterhaching is in the 3rd division. He's 17 years old. I think he's turning 18 now in April. He's bound to go to the Bundesliga. I think there's 3 teams that have offered him a deal in the Bundesliga. And he's already a first-team player. And I think, that's a player that I think everyone needs to look out for, But we've got quite a few in South Africa. There's Khawkhelo Chauke. We all know he plays in Southampton. There's a boy, Uli Shabela. Everyone knows Lishabela. There's another boy in Spain, Mwanza. Mwanza. He plays in the 4th division now, but I think he's only 16, so he's also got a lot of potential. But for me, if you were to ask me to name one player, I would say it's Boipelo Mashiko at the moment, because I mean, at the age of 17, he's playing regular first-team football, and you've got a few Bundesliga teams that are looking at him. And I'm expecting quite a lot from him, There's another one in Cardiff City called Siyabonga Ligenza. He's also 17. He just signed his first professional contract with Cardiff City. So, there's quite a few that I'm expecting in the next year or two to come out of the shells.
And who do you pick as a coach? Let's say, obviously, you're not kept with this coach. Who do you pick as a coach now?
Now,
sorry, Wonga, are you asking if he's Bafana coach now? Who does he throw into the team? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking coach. I'm asking if he's Danny Jordan, if he's sitting on that chair earning those bucks. Danny Jordan, who are you taking as the next coach?
For me, I would definitely go for someone who's won it all as a coach. Who's won it all in the PSL, who's won it all in the African continent, and someone who's proven, who's got the experience, and he plays, the brand of football that you can associate with South Africa. That is now on a short-term basis. So I would look at Pizza for the next 5 years, and then I would have Benny to assist him, because Benny must take over for the next for another 5 years. So basically, for those two, I would have those two for the next 10 years, assisting each other. And then I'll probably choose Coach Farouk and Coach Kevin Johnson to head up our development, because remember those two, Kevin Johnson and Farouk Khan, are the pioneers of what we used to call the School of Excellence. They're the ones who started the whole thing. They're the ones who produced the number of players, and the project was a success. We all know what's happening. I mean, Farouk is involved now with Stars of Africa. He's produced the likes of Luther Singh currently, Tebang Pete, May Mahlangu, Tugelo Ranti, with the legal resources that he has, the likes of Tefo Mashamaite and all these players. So if he can be given such a project, I believe, we can go far in terms of developing the youth. But I think if we were to have Pitso and Benny, I think that would be my ideal combination moving forward now, and then we'd have a young squad that they must start afresh with.
I think, Prince, I think you might be reaching there with Pitso. I don't think Safa will be able to afford Pitso. We know the ego the man has, and now he's doing things overseas. He's going to ask for the same amount. He's going to say, how much did you pay Carlos Alberto Pereira? I'm going to charge 10 times more. Yeah, he's going to ask for that money. And he's not afraid to ask.
But Safa has money. They can make a plan. I mean, if they can pay Pereira that money, why not? Is it because it's local? That's what we think. That's what we think.
That's true.
But I just think, I honestly just think if it's the will of the people, that's why I'm saying people must then come out now and say, if Pitso, we're calling you. I don't think Pitso would refuse the call. I mean, recently came out and said he wants to go back to Bafana Bafana. And what better time for Pitso to come back to Bafana Bafana than when we're going to the World Cup in Qatar? That's his dream.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So I think to a certain extent, if we can stand up as South Africa now, not Denny Otan, because Denny Otan has been, we can't rely on Denny Otan really in terms of appointing a coach now. If we can stand up and even go to a certain extent, I believe we must even now go and submit a memorandum to SAFA for what we want. We don't want no selection committees anymore.
True.
Yeah. Or we're going to sit and have another selection committee that's going to give us another surprise coach, and then we must go back to the same process again. So I think it's time for us to voice ourselves now.
Yeah.
You see, but that's the problem. You see, like, even if we voice ourselves, the thing is, there's no, even if you compare it to other leagues in the world, there's no standards in this country. There's no standards to be a coach. There's no standards.
No, that's very true.
For there's no standards for an academy. A simple thing like that.
There's no standards for us getting foreign players. Foreign players coming to PSL could be any person. Yes.
There's
no standards.
Exactly. That's true.
There's no. You have to be playing CAF Champions League, or you have to be playing CAF Confederation Cup. Like if you go to the UK, you have to have played. There's certain, obviously the visa requirements have changed.
Scenario.
Exactly, there's certain standards, you know what I mean? But in Africa, you can go get some other guy in
India,
in a far away country.
Some Brazilian playing in India can come here and get something.
And
exactly.
It's even like
that's true.
Even our license, the CAF license. So UEFA, if I have a UEFA license, I can coach anywhere in the world. If I have a CAF license, it's not the same. I can only coach in Africa and I think in Asia, if I'm not mistaken. But you see, it's just, and I can understand why they say that. But it's just our standards are the standards that.
But to be fair, let's look at and let's be realistic to a certain extent. Let's look at countries who just qualified for the AFCON now. You look at Comoros, you look at Ethiopia, you could look at Malawi. Malawi, I mean, their best player is playing here in South Africa, Kapatino Mango. You look at you look at other countries. Madagascar was one example I used to make. They don't have much resources. They don't have those standards that you're talking about. But what they do, for example, Comoros just went all out and said, no, we'll recruit all our players that are eligible to play for Comoros, even if they were born in Europe or if they grew up in Europe. And look where they are now. Madagascar did the same thing. And look where Madagascar went. They went to the quarterfinal in 2019. Look at so you look at all these countries, you look at the trend, and you see that sometimes even if you don't have the resources, but it's about you organizing yourself and using the players that you have. I mean, in South Africa, for example, now I'm speaking from a position where I know that there's over 50 players that are 25 and below that are eligible to play for this country that are playing overseas. But if you look, they'll only select 7 players into the squad, and then you wonder why are we not spreading our net as wide as other countries are. And I think we should look into that and bring the players that are quality. Not everyone, but the players that are quality are going to add some value into the national team. And
But
I think that's going to be very important for us.
Yeah, Prince, and I love the fact that you said that, because more than that, as soon as you start doing that, like you said, Comores and Madagascar naturalizing players, as soon as you do that, the knock-on effect is you automatically uplift the standard of the players around you, because now you're setting the standard. You're saying this is the quality of players we're fetching. They know how to read the game. They're technically superior. So now you've got to start performing at that level. Otherwise, you don't make the squad. So that is valid in terms of, obviously, in terms of development and what Wonga. Just in case you didn't notice, Prince, Wonga is a development coach here in the country, and that's why his emphasis is focusing on improving that sort of level here. So I don't know if you picked that one up.
That's his. No, I noticed that's his passion in this conversation, and that's good. That's good to hear.
And we're missing another member. He's the coach of University of Pretoria's Varsity Cup team. He just said that they're playing a match against Sundown's MDC team, so he couldn't make it, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
thanks, guys.
But hold on. Before he goes, Bonga, we've got a question here from Tsapang Makufane. And last one before you go, Prince. Do we still have a little bit more time, or are you going to bounce now?
No problem. I'm here. You said you guys said the show until 8:30.
Yeah. So you still here?
No problem. I'm around.
Okay, sharp. So Tsapang's asking, he's saying, good thing that we're talking about the coaches and the leagues. He says, what's your take on the PSL? Is it as good as what we think it is, or is it part of the reason why the national team is also swag, in his words?
No. Without a doubt. I think even those who doubted that, the PSL the quality has dropped so badly. This is just like a nail on this is a nail on the head, because, in terms of money, number one. In terms of marketing, PSL is number one. In terms of facilities and everything, PSL is number one. But in terms of the playing, the competition in the league, no, it's very worrying. And I think, as I've said before, one of the factors is the fact that teams in the PSL don't believe in young players. What you end up seeing, you'll end up watching Bernard Parker since you were 15 years old until you are 30 years old. And I think then the teams then rotate Bernard Parker amongst themselves, selling and buying, Bernard Parker, amongst themselves. And then you find players that are relaxed. But if you bring players that are younger and hungrier, you'll push the older players to also be competent, while these ones are trying to get into the team. But now you don't see young players coming through. You find a 23-year-old, this youngster is making his debut with this youngster, and then the youngster plays, but then you find that nobody believes in him and is back in the bench or back, with the reserve team or whatever, and it's a big problem. So the standard of the PSL is very low. And if you look at our best player now, Themba Zwane, where was he in these past two games?
He was nowhere. And he started both games, and I couldn't believe it. He stayed on the field against Sudan when they took off Luther and Percy, and he didn't do anything. Shishi was nowhere, and he must also go because he's 30 years old, 31. He needs to go now. We need our oldest players to be 28 years old. Yeah,
but the fact that you've got a Bradley Grobler still being thrown in the mix there for a national team, because we've got no one else to score goals. If we're looking at the quality of the league, and you're going, okay, if one of the top goal scorers is 33 years old and he's scoring 13 goals, and that's who we're looking to call up to the squad, what then fundamentally is flawed in the league? That, number one, we can't score goals. Number two, you're relying on a guy he's not the most of natural, in my opinion, natural finishes, and yet that's the best we have. That's the best we have. So it also starts showing you, like, the way in which we play. We don't play to necessarily... The coach, I've always said this from day one, football coaches in this country don't play to win games. They play not to lose games. And as soon as you set up like that, there's only so much you can do in terms of advancing the culture, advancing the player style. And it's to what you're saying, Prince. As soon as you're afraid to sort of go forward, you kind of inhibit any other potential, because you're going to rely on experience, because experience says, let's keep it tight at the back, let's hoof the ball long, and you're not teaching anyone anything. So if you're playing younger players, and also, what's the worst case scenario, Prince? You play a lot of young players, what happens? We don't qualify for something. It's currently what's happening now.
Honestly, I just think, honestly, I don't know if I'm too optimistic, but We've got a group currently of players that have qualified for the Under-17 World Cup. They've qualified for the Under-20 World Cup 2 times. They've qualified for the Olympics now. And they are playing regular first-team football in their teams, whether it's local or abroad. They are playing against the same players. Andile Jali is facing Tebogo Mokoena. Tebogo Mokoena is outclassing Andile Jali in the league. What could go wrong when Tebogo Mokoena goes to the national team? Sipombulu have seen what he can do. He's outclassing these players week in, week out in the league. Gift Links is performing in Denmark. Is outclassing players. You've got Luther Singh in Portugal is doing well, and many other players. But what is it that when they come to the national team is going to be so difficult to play against Sao Tome? Come on.
Yeah, that's poor, man.
You know, so I think that's where the thinking goes wrong for me.
Yeah,
you know when you mention these players, I actually realized that we've qualified now for 2 consecutive Olympics. But the players that qualify for those Olympics, how many of those players end up playing for the national team? Because you look at you look at Lyle Foster, your Luther Singhs. These guys are obviously qualifying for your Under-20 World Cups, Under-17 World Cups. Your Leshabelas, they're there. Your Reef Roslas there. You know what I mean? I know there's the captain of the Under-23 or was the Under-20 team. That one who just moved to Russia. Minaj.
Ukraine.
He plays Ukraine and Minaj. He's never played for the Bafana Bafana, but he's the captain of our junior teams. And I can't believe if you're the captain of your junior team, how can you not be picked? It's actually similar to what actually happened in the past. I don't know if you remember in the past where Raman Pashelene was the captain of our junior teams, and he never got picked in Bafana until much later on. Whereas he should.
He was 26 years old.
He was the guy who was the captain of our junior teams and doing well in our junior teams, and they would qualify for whatever. And Rama just never got picked. Even when he was at Sundowns, he never got picked. I think he only got picked at the end of his career at Sundowns and when he started playing for Chiefs. But now the new captain of Under-23, that guy, he's not being picked. It's ridiculous, the fact that these players that are getting us into Olympics is a tough situation to get in. You have to do group stages, then you do that tournament in Egypt where they were playing, where only the top 4 or top 5 go through, and they managed to qualify.
No, 100%. I think what you're speaking about, something that I've spoken to about so many times. Ramahlem Pahlele, his story about him only getting his first cap, when he was 26 years old, but he was the captain of Amachita, the likes of Andile Jali, Tulan Serrero, but he was given his cap when he was 26. You've got Teshas Malepe now, he's 24 this year, has not been called up, not even once to the national team, and is playing at the highest level in Ukraine. And you've got Luke Luru, who's also a former Amachita captain, is doing his thing in Sweden, playing week in, week out with Fabek, but is not even looked, towards. Now, currently, we've got now the recent captain, Rowan Human, is doing his thing in Israel. Now, we don't know what is going to happen with him, if he's going to called up or not. But when you look at the trend, he's not even in the discussions, but he's already playing first-team football. Brazil in 1994 took Ronaldo to the World Cup, but Ronaldo was sitting in the stands the whole tournament. What was Brazil doing to Ronaldo? They were getting him ready for 1998 World Cup. And when Ronaldo came into the picture, 1998 World Cup, Ronaldo was doing wonders then. 2-2, he won them the World Cup. Why can't we learn from these things? What is it that you are going to take three 31-year-olds and you are only going to play one 31-year-old, but you are going to have spots that are filled by other 31-year-olds who are debutants in the squad? They just called Tabang Munare now to go to the national team after years of Tabang Munare doing well, but they only called him now to the squad. And they played him against Sudan. They threw him in the deep. And Munare, I think, is almost the same age as Andile Jali and all these guys. Ben Mutswari it was also like it was unfamiliar territory for him to play in the national team. And they played them together. They were thrown in the dark. Then they played them together. But now that's where I fail to understand the thinking. Do we pick age or do we pick players because they are doing well and they are performing? And if you look at guys like Tebogo Mokoena, the boy literally grew up in the national team. He's going to have stage fright when he gets there because he's played for Bafana Bafana. He's not going to have stage fright. He's played in qualifiers. He's played in friendlies. Why is he not playing in the national team? Sipombulu, same thing. They've all came through the system. Why are they not being played in the national team? And now, here we are now. We have not introduced these boys. All players have failed. you will find a trend where we go to the World Cup qualifiers in June. They're going to call Andile Jali to come to the national team again.
The man is getting hamstring injuries in the qualifiers
for dribbling someone. Andile Jali got injured for dribbling someone, and because he's not playing as regularly at Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah,
so
true.
So we really need to look. I know we love some of the, even us as fans. You'll find a fan now coming and say, "I want Brashompo the national team." You look and say, "Bra, please, man, Brashompo is turning 36." But you find that kind of problem. But Germany, what they do in Germany and other countries who are progressive in sport, they pick players according to generation. So if you are born between 1990 and 93 or 94, let's say, you are a generation. And when that generation is finished, all of you retire, and then the next generation comes through. Leroy Sané has not been playing football at Man City, but at Germany, they kept on calling him because Leroy Sané was part of the bigger picture in terms of that generation. This generation now that we're saying of German football.
That's true.
Lam and Schweinsteiger and all of them, they retired together.
That's true. Ozil's generation is being phased out slowly but surely. Yeah, Boateng is out, Khedira is out, Ozil is out, Muller is out. It's only Neuer. It's basically only Neuer that's from the.
And
Kroos, it's only Neuer and Kroos who are from Ozil's generation. Otherwise, everyone else is in the what 100%. I call now the Gundogan's, Emre Cans, and the ones that follow after that.
But you see, even those players, they know
we should do things.
They know themselves that they, that's the nice thing. Those players know that, look, this is the time. They're probably given this much time, and they're going to try and accomplish these things. Once they've accomplished what they need to accomplish, or they see, or they assess and they say that, look, this is not possible. And they even assess, like you're saying, they look at the upcoming talent. Am I hindering someone? I had my chance, I've had 7 years here. There's someone who's coming now. Is it fair for me to go play another 4 years? And they look and they say, oh, they make a decision, and they'll make a decision based on that. But here,
as long as you've got a walking stick, as long as you have a walking stick, you still have a chance of getting a call up.
100%. You see Dean Fairman going overseas to go be with his family to play in the 4th division. But, basically the guy is saying, okay, guys, I've had enough. He's going to England to play in the 4th division, but you still find the coach calling Dean Fairman back. And Dean Fairman is turning 33 in June, And we need to understand that at 32, 33, that's a retirement age. That's the latest retirement age to a certain extent, because there are players that are special, like we know Klose, he was still a machine. Ronaldo still a machine now, but for majority, like I said, for majority of the generation, they should retire within a certain space of time. In South Africa, as long as it's still getting.
But what's interesting, sorry, I just wanted to add, everything that you're saying makes, if we're looking at how the top clubs are being run now, never mind national teams, top clubs, where if we look at the national team, remember Germany did that sort of system where they had a terrible World Cup and they're known for doing really well. They had a terrible World Cup, they scrapped the team, they started with youngsters, they built that 4-year dream, and they ended up winning the next World Cup. And now when we're looking at football clubs like your Liverpools, like Red Bulls, their emphasis is placed on signing younger players, develop them under the philosophy that the coach has, and then when they're good enough or they're not good enough, you flog them. From a business perspective, you're making money. It should be no different from a national team perspective, where you're getting these players, you're developing them to a certain level. Either they get the chance and they do well, or they don't. They sink or swim. And then you get the next players in. And that's exactly everything you're saying from a federation point. And if they're doing it at a club level for finances, how is that different from a national level where it's run professionally? But just to move aside, we've got a Lyle Foster fan, Prince. Someone's asking, is he still a top player? Is he still doing the business there? What's happening with Lyle Foster at the moment?
Lyle Foster, by the way, personally, one of my favorite players. I believe he's got massive potential, to do well. But I just think, this season in particular, Lyle Foster has been unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, because number one, just got to a new team. He was diagnosed with COVID at some point. He tested positive. When he just returned, he had a food poisoning issue. From there, he had a food poisoning issue, and then from there, when he returned, there were personal family issues that had him to take some time off because of some family bereavements and all of these things. So then they asked him to take some time off. When he returned, they said, please go. I think in January they said, please go start with the PT. Well, he asked that, you know what, coach, I'm not in the right space, you know, and they were struggling to get into the team because of all these things that are happening. Would make the match day squad. After making the match day squad, you find that he's got a stomach bug or whatever, COVID and all these things. So he asked to start with the P team, which is where now he's playing. He's been playing 90 minutes. I was quite surprised when he was called up to the national team. In fact, to be honest, he was surprised. His father was surprised as well to say, how did Lyle make it to the squad? Because from all we knew, Lyle was not playing regular first football. He was starting to establish himself, with the B team, looking at, playing more minutes before coming back to the first team, which is where he is now. The lucky part about him is that he's 20 years old. He's turning 21 later this year around September. But what I told him is that there are so many players that have got a lot of potential, a lot of potential, but potential enough does not get you a successful career. He needs to start scoring goals. That's what he needs to start doing.
Yep.
And beyond. Yeah, exactly.
He mustn't
and
be
beyond, the 2021-22 season, we can't. We even if we believe in his potential, but we can't speak for him, except if he speaks on the field. So I'm looking at him playing more in next season, and he's got a lot of options that he needs to consider. There's a team in Belgium that wants him. Vitoria wants to keep him, and he's got another loan offer from another team in the Portuguese top flight. So he will decide what happens, but he just needs to start playing and scoring goals, because we can only speak for him for so much and expect something from him for so much. But now he needs to put that potential into practice. That's and I'm hoping for the best for the young man.
No, true. Prince, when you touch obviously on Lyle now, I'm thinking now as well. So there was a question that was asked. Do you think that Portugal can be almost like a gateway destination for South African players? We've got more than 5 players, I think, now that are in Portugal. Obviously, Tebang Pete is doing well. You've got your Luther Sings, then you've got I think it's a Trele who's playing for in the first division side. I think we probably got
second
about 5
division
or 6,
now.
We've got about 6 players who are playing in Portugal.
There's Pepe Lostole as well.
Yes. So only Tebang Pete, I think he's the only one who's above the age of 24 of those ones, and the rest are obviously under 24. They 19, 20, 21, and so on. Do you think Portugal can be almost like a gateway, like the Portuguese league sees that these South African guys are doing well? Let's actually go to South Africa and see what else is there in the youth systems and so on.
100%. I always say, if you look at the West Africans, how they do things, West Africans and North Africans, in fact, when you move to Europe, you must remember that it's not only about your performance on the field, but there's a culture issue. There's even, to a certain extent, the diet issue. There's the whole adapting phase, and then you adapt also to the style of play and how they do things there. So when you get there at the age of 17, 18, it gives you an advantage, because at least you give yourself 2 years to adapt to everything before you can start playing regularly and have adapted. So I think Portugal has given us that opportunity, and I think now there's a rising number in Sweden as well. We've seen the likes of Ayer, Matthews, Luru, and now today Moon and Dean Solomon's just moved to the same club. So we've got 5 players in one club. So if our players can learn to start from the smaller teams at a young age, and then from there, then that's when they adapt. We've seen people see Ndidi now when he's playing at Leicester City, but Ndidi spent so much time in Belgium. We've seen Mahrez has moved from League 2 in France to go play for Leicester City in the Championship. So our players need to start in the lower leagues. They need to start in the academies and adapt and then move forward. For example, if Lishabela now starts playing in the Premier League, who's going to stop him now? Nobody, because he's been through that system for the past 7 years at Leicester, and he's now part of the family and he's adapted to everything there. And I think that's what we need to do, because Kigan Dolu moved at 24, Pesita moved at 24, and till today, all those players, I could say, they are still adapted. They've not found their best form, and they are all above 20, and they're all above 25. So the younger they move into Portugal, Sweden, Denmark, and all these leagues. Mohamed Kudus, who was just killing us now, started in Denmark and now is with Ajax Amsterdam. From Amsterdam, we can go to Barcelona or Real Madrid. So that's the system that we need to adapt to. We must stop calling these leagues farmers leagues and fishermen's and all these things, you know.
Yeah.
That's true, 100%.
And that's so valid, because when you take in the likes of the lads moving over when they're 24, the expectation's different. If you're being signed as a 24-year-old and you're coming from South Africa, the expectation in Europe is that you're at a certain standard or certain levels. So there's a lot more pressure. So adapting, number one, is already difficult, but now you really have to perform. If you're coming in younger at a lower league, you can be given that affordance to make the mistakes required to develop. And the scouts and the leagues and the coaches aren't as harsh. And I think that's a valid point, Prince. That's nail on the head there.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Sadio Mane was in Austria before he moved to the Premier League. Before Austria was in League 2. You know, so I'm saying the pattern is the same. You know, we need to be patient. We just need to get the boys over at young age. Like that boy Paulo Mashiko I was referring to, is 17, but playing first team in the 3rd division of Germany. When he moved to Bundesliga, it won't be much of a difference, because they are set up there. The professional setup and the competition is, the difference is not that much. And now if you're 18 and moving to the Bundesliga, by the time you're 21, oof. Yeah, difficult. You know, you could be doing very well.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts.
So I just want to reel it back to more specific to what Selo was saying with regards to the question. If you have to look across all the leagues in Europe right now, and obviously we've got some guys in Sweden and we've got some guys in Portugal, in terms of which league in Europe do you think is geared best for our local players?
Yeah, I would say Portugal. I would say Portugal. In my opinion, I would say Portugal. Then move to France, and then from France you can move to anywhere, or you can move to Portugal. And we know that Portugal, by the way, is the league that exports the most English Premier League players. So they're the ones that give the EPL most players that are in the world. They are the best league that gives, you know, the EPL players. So if you move to Portugal and you do it in Portugal, you can move straight from Portugal to England. And now with the new rules in England, makes life not so difficult for our boys to move over to England. But yeah, I can say if for me the right pattern would to move from Portugal to France and then move to any league in the world, because I think France and Portugal, they're best suited for our players, and I think also La Liga is more suited for our players than the English Premier League, in my opinion, because La Liga is more about, you know, the technical ability of a player more than, you know, the tactics, because in English they focus on the tactics, the physical side of it. But in La Liga, if you are a skillful South African, you are able to improvise, you can thrive there. You know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Selo, Wonga, you guys, I see. Oh, before we ask our final questions there, Prince, we do have someone, Cantona G has come up saying, keep up working really hard there with the players we have available in Europe. We can achieve big things. And he's just saying, thanks for the work there, Prince. So that's a nice little shout out. Wonga, Selo, do you guys have any final questions for Prince before we say goodbye?
No, I think we've covered everything. I just hope that obviously tomorrow we get positive news, and that Molefi can resign and do the right thing, man. You know, and I think. But wait, actually no. Prince, do you think bringing in someone like, I know obviously he's not coached a professional team, né? Do you think it would be wrong to think of a person like Thabang Senong as a potential coach? I know, yes, it's similar to Ntseki, né? Because Ntseki coached 17, but Senong coached 17 and 20 for so long, for like about 6-8 years. So Luther Singh has come through his hands. Ngobo's coming through his hands. Frostler, all these guys, you know what I mean? They've come through his hands. Your Fosters, they've come through his hands, you know what I mean? And he's qualified for 2 World Cups. I think it's under 17 and under 20 World Cup. Are we going backwards because of that? But he's also proven himself better than Mteki, for instance.
Yeah, I think honestly, I mean, he did excellently when he was with the under 20s. I mean, in terms of qualifying for the World Cups, as much as, you know, he had his own, you know, issues with picking overseas players and all of this, but I think he did very well. And I think for me, like I was saying, I think with a friend some weeks ago, that I think he's the head coach of Lesotho currently, and I think that's the right path. Is the right path that he's taking. If he can be able to coach there, you know, get the necessary experience, when he needs to come back here, I don't think anyone can question him, because he's coaching in Lesotho, he's proving himself there. You know, let's just see how it goes there. I know that, Lesotho earlier on was losing 1-0 against Nigeria. I don't know how that game ended, but I just think, that's the right, he's getting the right experience. He's been through the system. I think, in the future, if his name was to come up, I don't think, if he had worked, because now the difference is that now he's coaching as a head coach, of now an African country. So I think that speaks volume. And I think, if he can continue to do the work and getting all the experience, when he needs to come back, those credentials will speak for themselves for him.
Cool.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Wonga, final question. Then I've just got one more, less serious one.
No, another question. I just find it funny that all of us can sit here, come from looking at the Bafana situation from different angles, especially the guys commenting there, and sort of come with sort of similar ways in which to fix the problem. But you've got the guys who are actually in control, and I mean, Prince has even said he's reached out to them, and these guys can't even come up with these things or haven't even started implementing these things. It just baffles me. That's all I would like to say.
Prince, final one here. We've got someone asking, is it important to you that your partner supports the same team as you? and her name is Kaketso, and she's from, I think it's called the Fast Breakfast SA, where they talk about basketball.
Fast break SA.
Okay.
Yeah, they're basketball fan.
I know. I don't really think that matters, to be honest with you. But I don't think that really matters as long as she supports something. Watching. I don't really care. As long as she supports the game, she's passionate about the game, or she, I don't even want to lie. It's hard to find partners that actually even care about what's happening in the game and passionate about the game. So for me, I don't. As long as she supports and she's passionate to support something, I don't really care about that. We just have to, on match day, we just have to sit apart. You know what I mean?
I have it very tricky because I'm a Man United and Kaizer Chiefs supporter, and my partner supports Arsenal and Orlando Pirates. So there's never harmony. There's never harmony in the household. You know what I mean?
But I blame the scouting network there, Silo. You should have done your homework. You should have gotten Prince to do the data collection and gotten the right things.
And so here's the options.
Yeah, exactly. Last final thing here, Prince. We've got Darren putting in a long. He loves his essays, and he says, "What do you guys reckon for this squad for World Cup qualifiers coming up?" So this is a list he's put together. He's got Williams in goals. He says that's the best we have. He says at right back, we've got Frosler. At centre back, actually, you know what? I'll be more comfortable, Selo, if you take the lead here, just for pronunciation purposes.
It says centre back Malepe, Pete, left back Maela, defensive mid Piri, left centre mid Zungu, right attacking mid Tau, right wing Dolly, left wing Dolly and then Singh and then Mutiba. So basically a 4-2-3-1 with Dolly, Tau and Singh behind Mutiba, and then on the bench with who's it? Solomon, Kutsia, Links, Leshabela, Sitole, Mukocho, and Foster and Chauke on the bench.
Yeah, no, that's that. We've got so much talent, man. He's asking for. I think that's a good list, but I would definitely not play unless Dolly changes his situation at the club. I would definitely be playing Giflings ahead of him. I think that's from what I could pick up from the list. I think, and I hope that he put Frostlight at right back, and at left back I would have Ngobeni of Bloemfontein Celtics, and I think I'll be fine with that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
No, that's cool.
Nice.
That's cool.
And do we all agree that Percy Tau needs to leave Brighton end of the season?
No, guys. I think it's an adjustment period, guys. I think
they're preparing him for next season.
Let's see next season, guys. I think it's too early to write him off. You saw Timo Werner has struggled in the Premier League, guys. Let's give Percy Tau another.
Hakim's there, she's the same.
Exactly. I mean, these guys take time. And Brighton is fighting relegation. The coach for him now to pick a player he's not 100% sure about, and he's still trying to integrate. You're gonna not pick him. You're gonna rather pick the guys that you know and you've been having there for 2 years. So next season, if he's still benching, then he can leave.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's not easy. Like I said earlier, that when you move to a country, I mean, you just move from Belgium. Belgium and England is like 5 times. It's like you take, you jump 5 grades, and then you are in grade 12. Because now England, like I said, is the best league in the world. You jump from grade 9 or grade 8 to grade 12. It's not easy. You get there. There's Neil Mopé. You get there. There's the Danny Welbeck. You get there. There's many other players. It was always going to not be easy. So let's give him until next season. And see, we know that he's been through this so many times. He's gonna come back.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, I have been impressed by that with him. I'll never forget. Just in case you guys didn't know, when he was doing his thing here locally, he was in one of the kickoff magazines, and they asked me to illustrate him as a lion. And I was drawing this thing, and I couldn't stop like looking at him physically, and I go, "How's this guy a lion?" Physically, I couldn't understand it. And then literally and this I think was 4 years ago. And now we're talking about the man playing in the Premier League, skipping his matric certificate and going straight for a PhD. So it's really incredible.
He's always come back. He's always come back. Yeah. Even when he was with Sundowns, they loaned it to Witbeck Spurs, and he came back strong and won CAF. When they loaned him to the 2nd division in Belgium, we know what he did, the player of the year, and then was playing Champions League the next season with Bruges. So this is Percy. He's done it, so many times. I'm confident he will do well.
And I think in terms of, we're talking about facts, he's the only player in Brighton's history to have a song named or sung after him without ever kicking a ball for them. Just in case you guys didn't know that.
No, that's true.
He's already doing things.
Yeah.
They love him.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for the evening. Prince, thank you so much for giving us your time and joining us. We have a lot of people just saying, like, it's incredible we got you on. They were dying to hear from you, so thank you very much. And, have a fantastic evening, gents, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. We've got another guest lined up. I don't want to say too much, but he's based somewhere else. Yep. And remember, guys, if you don't know what to be
cool.
Be cool.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Prince.
Cheers. Cheers, guys.
Sure.
Cheers, Darren.
Bye.